Good day, everybody. Hope you're having an awesome and joyful day thus far. And I was told last night to put this together and call it Deeper Now. When I asked them what they meant by deeper now, they're saying they use language like that because our minds are geared to concepts that restrict and limit what we think up is, what we think down is. So when they say deeper now, they don't actually mean like deeper, like deep water. They mean going into more fully and completely the present moment. That when you're able to, hi there, hi, good to see you, hon. Hi, Lorraine. That, hello, Elena. That going into a deeper now isn't about going into depth. It's about going into it more fully and completely. And I asked them why they use the word deeper instead of not just saying going fully into it. It said, because the brain measures depth as being something down into more. So they said through the explanation it would be clear what they really meant, to go more fully into the present moment. A couple of things I wanted to say. Awesome manifesting that's been going on in the group. You guys are starting to apply and understand and which is part of the reason why they brought this one forward today, is that there are some of you that are ready for a deeper now, that are ready to go more fully into the present. They've been showing me these images today of what happens to us when we go into the present moment. What actually happens to us in consciousness? What happens in terms of with our brain? What happens in terms of with our senses? And as we pull ourselves out of identification with the body and start to connect more to the being of ourselves without the having to think about who we are, just being that which we are, that it was kind of like, let's see, I guess I can use this. Okay, so you take a look at this leaf, this plant here. Okay, beautiful plant. I love this plant. And you look at the way the leaves are on this plant and the shafts are. You see that the stalks, there's a total of 4 stalks going up. And there are many, many leaves on top of this. And they're saying, as you go into the now moment, it's like you start to lose all of these differentiated parts. You start to be less fragmented as you go into the moment. As you go deeper into the present moment, they're saying all that distraction, all that stuff that we get attached to, that, you know, that itch, that sound, what do I do tomorrow? What happened yesterday? I wonder if so-and-so's going to call me. When we start getting rid of all of that separateness, they're calling it separateness, those things separate us from ourselves. They don't connect us to ourselves, they separate us from ourselves. So as those things start to drop off, you don't lose awareness of them. You're just not, your energy is not just grabbed by them anymore. You're not randomly being pulled into a memory, or randomly being pulled into a sound, or randomly being pulled into a smell. You're deliberately and intentionally aware of things more from a centralized point. They're saying as you get more and more, that centralized point of distraction gets to a single point where you are just awareness, being awareness. And they're saying it is from that point, and this is the thing that I found most fascinating this morning, when they said, because at that point you have everything, every possibility available to you when you're being what you are in the moment, without a sense of separateness, but with a greater connectivity to all things without differentiating to any one of them. So like all those leaves on that little tree I just showed you, all the leaves would be like all of the distracted realities, but from the central point, you're aware of all those, but you're not pulled into any one event or situation. You're aware of all of them. From that point, you have choice and free will. They say you have choice and free will at the point of being in the now of your being, aware of all but attached to none. From that perspective, you can actually identify with one reality and go into it, but you can also, they say, this is what I really love, you can also create a new reality. Now that just blew my mind. You can create a brand new reality from that place of being. And I asked him a little deeper. I said, well, what do you mean create a brand new reality? You can literally change your life from what you see it and smell it and touch it and feel it and hear it to be right now into something completely different. And I said, well, you mean like bewitched, snap my fingers and everything changes? I said, it's like that. If you were adept enough, you could change it that fast, but your mind could not conceive of that, and it would startle you. You wouldn't be prepared for it. But you would see incremental, gradual changes that represent that new reality that you would choose to focus on. And so they were very clear about this. As you start to focus on a specific reality that you would love to experience, and you get into that attaching your being, connecting your being, your feeling self to that reality as if it were feeling to you, as if it were as real as eating food or as real as drinking water. If you can feel the reality of an event, even if that event is not occurring in your life at this moment, if you can feel that reality over a sustained period of time, you will actually bring it into the present moment with you. You'll bring it into a material reality with you, much the same way as right now I could ask you to turn your attention to the left side of where you're sitting right now and notice the picture on the wall, or notice that pen on the desk to your left, or the telephone over there that nobody's used for a long time on the right. There's very specific things you can focus on now that come into your focus the minute you give attention to them, like this chair and the surface that you're sitting on. I direct your attention there, they become a reality of your now. And they're saying when we get to the place where we can so totally focus on a now reality that is as real as any other now reality that's existing, and they're saying all potential realities exist simultaneously, and they are without limit. The only thing that limits the potential realities that any one of us can experience is our imagination and what we're choosing to allow ourselves to identify with. And so when they were explaining this to me, I'm going like, so what you're basically saying is that we can manifest anything at all. We can create a whole universe if we want to. And they said, absolutely. But the level of difficulty from the perspective that you may find yourself in at this point in your reality may be significantly different, in that allowing it might not be something that you could allow, because your conceived focal point of reality does not incorporate or allow for that to be incorporated into it. So you either have to expand that reality to include that so fully that you feel that the new idea being brought in is as equally real to you as is the existing reality. Then you can bring those things in. But they said with most people it happens incrementally. I noticed somebody manifested twice the amount of money they were imagining in the exercise they were doing the other day. And again, they have been preparing all of us as we move up to this third and final week in the 102 course to get into the process of developing. Thank you. They're just pouring all this energy through me now, this love through me right now, because they've been really excited about this. They've been so excited because they said this is where things can change significantly on the planet if more people get engaged in the truth of the reality creative process that we all have. Then it will be easy for humanity to shift the planetary consciousness and electromagnetic energies to support and sustain life more effectively and for longer, with less detrimental effects upon the residents of this particular time-space manifestation. I just asked them a question while they were saying all. I was saying, well, is this time-space manifestation that we're in right now someone's creation? And they said to me, that someone is one you would call God, but functions as an individual just as all of you do. The distinction is their perspective of individuality is so much more broader than ours that they can engage and indulge and express more of the creative potentials, which you call your reality, which seems to be vast to you, but which to them is relatively small, like a plant or a tree. So they're telling me that it's relative to us. So whether you call it God or the super being or the divine architect, each of these relative individual consciousnesses, and they're saying this very clearly, each of these relative individual consciousnesses merely differ in scope and degree of capabilities relative to each other. So like a baby, a newborn baby, the world that we see and experience relative to that newborn baby is like, it doesn't get it. It's like there. Have you ever watched little babies when they first actually start using their eyes and seeing things, and they're looking around and they're looking at their hands, like everything. They're like, holy crap, what is all this stuff, right? It's all new to that child, but to us it's like, oh, it's just a hand, it's a foot, oh, that's your toe you're sucking on, right? But to that child, relative to us, it's a freaking huge universe. To us, it's just day-to-day living. Well, to God and a divine architect and other beings on many levels that we can connect to, and we are connecting to, they will help us open up our paradigms of perception to enable us to create on any scale that we so choose to, while gaining the practical experience in such a way that we don't hurt ourselves. Much the same way as you would be mindful as you train your child to eat with a fork, on how to hold the fork and how to insert it into food and how to bring it towards the face, so that the child would be instructed in such a fashion that they would not hurt themselves. And God and the divine architect and the other super beings on many different levels approach each other with the same process. God has a mentor. The divine architect has a mentor. And there are beings beyond that I can't even, when I try to access the name or the face or the consciousness there, it's not accessible to me. And they're saying, because my brain does not have it has the capacity to conceive of infinite possibilities, but it does not have the capability to conceive of individual consciousnesses beyond a certain point of what I call reality, which I find fascinating too. This journey just gets more and more exciting as we go into it. So today they wanted to bring through a meditation that would allow you to go into the now deeper. They're not ready to start it yet, because they do want to take some questions, because they know there's a bunch of them popping up in your minds right now, because there's been so much discussion and communication on concepts as God and divinity and healing and quantum realities. Many discussions on what this is, and there are many beings that are getting little snippets here and little snippets there, but the actual reality is elegantly simple, but practically put together in such a way that it can't harm itself to any extent that would prevent it from being able to function as a creative consciousness universally or infinitely. And yet we also, each of us as individuals, have that unlimited capability within us, but we're learning to exercise it while we're on this plane of consciousness. Again, I'm just re-articulating everything they're literally putting through me right now. As quickly as they're saying it, I'm speaking it. And anytime I try to analyze what they're saying, it slows me down. So I'm trying not to do that. But I found that really fascinating, the idea that what we've been calling God, what's been labeled God, is an individual consciousness, a being of such a broader scale of consciousness, so as to appear unlimited in scope and power. Jesus is saying, I know he whom you call my Father. He is literally an individual that is my Father. He gave birth to the awareness that I call myself now, which you call individual names such as Yeshua or Jesus or Sananda and many others that you've created for me. But the individual is literally my teacher, my Father. Is the only relative terms that I come up with where one is relatively teaching me, as I have relatively taught many others and am teaching now today. So this operates on all planes of consciousness. He says, be very clear on this. This consciousness that you call God is neither separate from you nor better than you. It just has a better understanding and grasp of how to utilize and expand its consciousness to such a degree that it would appear to be miraculous to us. JC saying, to me, there are many things that my Father does that are beyond what even I can comprehend. And so open your hearts and your minds to what we'll give you today, for if you learn to release your attachment to finite conceptions of reality, you enable yourself to stand side by side with me, and that is in consciousness. So understand that what we give you is not merely for the sake of making you more effective at creating money or creating jobs or being a better person. It's about becoming that which you intended yourself to become while you are in this particular portion of your creative process. He's saying it's important to understand that what you're experiencing individually is your creative assertion of an infinite potential through that finite form that you're in. And I love that. And as you start to get to a place of really comprehending that, it makes this much more exciting and easy, because then you don't have to worry about if you're going to fail or not. There's no such thing as failure. He says there's no such thing as failure. There's errors in perception. There are errors in execution, but there's never, ever a failure in all of creation. Never. He's saying, please stress this for me. Never, ever are there failures in all of creation. There are merely misperceptions that appear as individualized experience as what you would label as failure. But in your true nature, there is no failure. There's just growth and change and evolution. He's saying whether that evolution is deliberate or unconscious is what we are hoping to help you to define for yourself. Will you be a deliberate creator of your experiences, or will you be an unconscious creator of your experiences? Will you learn to depend and rely upon those unlimited skills and abilities within yourself and to cultivate and develop them? Or will you become dependent on another reality external to yourself, which cannot be neither good nor bad depending on the reality? If it expands you, then it's good. If it contracts you, then it is not, from the perspective of continued growth. But never could you ever be considered a failure. They're saying that when you allow yourself to go through the process, when you allow yourself to experience the process, you're not experiencing something that we're doing to you. You're experiencing something within yourself that we're getting you to pay attention to, perhaps for the first time. And it's your attention to that which is new within yourself that enables you to expand your own consciousness. For none of us could make you or any individual choose to grow. That has to be a function of the individual from the perspective of their own personalized reality at the level of consciousness in which they find themselves, and of which there are unlimited bands of endless realities, endless. Okay, so I got JC here behind these guys. I don't know why he's standing behind them, but he's saying because they are going to address the questions you have right now before the meditation. He's saying it's very important because some of you may be having difficulty wrapping your minds around some of these quantum. He's calling them quantum considerations, because they're ideas and conceptions of reality that are beyond what you would call normal. He's saying, but in truth, they're well within your grasp. He said the word quantum, even in and of itself, is just a word that was manifested in order to denote a reality that was slightly beyond, but within the reach of certain individuals in this physical dimension. And he says language is like that. Language is articulated specifically so that people can adjust and alter their perceptions in physical time, space, and matter, that will in such a way that they can embrace a broader spectrum of who they think they're supposed to be. Okay, so they're saying, please, we need to take questions now because we have things to do. Okay. This is all new to me today, girls and boys. When JC and these guys come to me like this, and they come to me when I least expect it, and I'm always delighted that I'm always learning too. I'm always learning different conceptions of reality, as are you, and we are here like pearls on a string of cosmic length, of infinite potential, all assisting each other. Those are the closest to us, right? Okay, let's go with questions. I believe that question was already answered by J.C. Lorraine. God is an individualized consciousness that functions on a perspective of reality that is significantly broader in scope and capability and awareness than what yours is understood to be. There are, again, he's saying names have been interfered with and given meanings that weren't necessarily reflective of the truth of those individuals or those consciousnesses. Your understanding of God is based predominantly on some fundamental ideas that would tell you that there are limits in your capability to become that which you can become. And there are those who benefit from the very nature of limiting your ability to expand your consciousness and your perception beyond what is presented to you. So we encourage you to consider expanding your conception of individuality to not just mean just a physical body in and of itself. There are beings of individual nature that are proportionally, in terms of size, 1,000 times greater than even your planet in size. So the concept of individualization needs to undergo a radical change in perception based on the new models of reality that are emerging into your paradigm. It's very important to understand that what you call God is an individual creative consciousness that has a broader scope and potential than what you do as an individual. In fact, you gain some of your potential and your possibility from that consciousness which manifested the individual aspect that you call yourself. But at the same time, you as an individual function independently of that aspect which you would call God. You are both the, it's better to say that you are interdependent upon each other. For God could not conceive of experience without sensors experiencing and giving him feedback or her feedback from that reality in which they are projecting their creative process. Much the same way as you need other human beings in your experience to help you to identify what you are doing, what effect it is having in order to make adaptations and changes in your experience so as to expand your creative potential in this physical dimension. It works equally on the level in which you find yourself as it does on the other levels of consciousness that exist throughout eternity. And again, we put words like eternity out there very carefully because, again, it denotes a perception that your finite mind can comprehend relative to its capabilities. But eternity is immeasurable in terms of reality as we understand reality to be. They're saying that's absolutely not true. All you have to do is listen and feel to your heartbeat, and you will know that you're constantly receiving vibrations from a higher consciousness relative to you. But also you have imbued many other things in this dimension with higher frequencies of consciousness. You have taken things like stone and made them into buildings. You have reshaped metals from the ground into other things. So you imbue consciousness into everything with which you interact with in this dimension. It is what all of creation is doing simultaneously, interacting with other aspects of self to alter self in order to evolve and change experience. They're saying they don't even need to read the rest of the question to understand. Kate, we are divine creators is what they're saying. We are divine creators. And from everything I'm hearing so far, each of us contributes to what we call human experience because we are, relatively speaking, in close proximity to a spectrum of consciousness. Thank you. We humans, while we're in these physical bodies, are in close enough proximity in terms of consciousness, just as they're saying, I am in close proximity of consciousness that enables me to listen to and speak and communicate on their behalf as they could on mine up the chain of consciousness. And again, they're using words carefully, like up. They say we use these words very carefully because they're only given to you for you to understand them in the framework in which you find yourself. Yeah. But it's important you understand that there is no greater or lesser. There's only your learning process that you're working on. The transformation of the planet is a collective endeavor that humans, while thinking they are separate, are actually in fact unified, but still have the autonomy of individuality to function. And the real magic is when you can get a number of individual consciousnesses to join together in a common purpose to create something greater than either the individuals can conceive of doing on their own individually. Then you elevate and expand the consciousness capabilities of all individuals while enabling the collective of the individuals to function at a higher level as well. So these things that you call environmental tragedies, which have happened many, many times on this planet, and many, many times they've been averted because the quality of the consciousness, the unified process came into play and was able to alter the creative process to such a degree that results changed. And that's exactly what you're learning to do in these programs that we've been downloading to many people throughout this planet in these last years. There are many programs that are showing you how to access your creative potential and how to alter the realities that you call good and evil into being that which you'd idealize as love or joy or peace. Because you can change it from one state to another, and this you know, or you would not have asked that question if you did not know the possibility existed. I am affirmations that are saying are only effective insofar as the feeling element of those affirmations gets translated into physical actions. And I'm understanding that to mean, Heidi, I'm understanding that to mean, so if I'm going, I am amazing, I love what I do, I am so freaking phenomenal, well then I would need to go and do things that are amazing and phenomenal, things that would like make people go wow, right? Build a pyramid, for example. So when you can translate your affirmation into a living action, that's when the affirmation becomes a living creation. Yes. Yes. They're saying your questions are very, very profound, and if you've understood and received the answer correctly, you will feel there is a change in your consciousness. You will know of what actions you need to take to enhance what it is you are receiving vibrationally right now through us. So go and engage that energy and translate those ideas into action, which is what this one here is doing with his idea of putting 1 billion people together within the next 26 years to try and correct the electrical imbalances that have been created because of the emotion you call fear manifesting itself in comparison to the state you call love, and seeing those two and how they interact with the electrical potential of the other life forms on this planet. And his purpose is to try and shift that electrical potential so that everybody knows they are deliberately creating their experiences here as a collective as well as individuals. Thank you. It's nice when somebody else blows my horn for me. Yes, they're saying we can go a bit deeper into multidimensionality, but it would not serve of any great purpose, as you would only comprehend those ideas that would relate most effectively to who and what you are based on the experiences and understanding you have of what your consciousness is. We would be hard put to try and get you to deliberately stretch yourself beyond where you're capable of going. But what we can say about multidimensional reality is that multidimensional reality simply refers to the unlimited potential that individualized consciousnesses have of creating unlimited experiences throughout an unlimited reality of what you call the universe, of which there are unlimited numbers of those. And again, we use words like unlimited very carefully because they do not reflect the full totality of the concepts of which we're speaking. Your mind cannot conceive of endless time and space. Your mind cannot conceive of endless possibilities for individualized expression. You can see in some of your media creations, some of your movie creations, that you've created realities that are beyond the scope of what your immediate experience says, but those realities are equally as valid. They just do not exist in this occupying the same time and space as you do, except through what you call your creative arts programs, where you create movies and stories that represent those realities. But we can assure you, when a reality is thoroughly manifested in such a fashion, it is a reality somewhere in the continuum of experience. Otherwise, it could not possibly come into the conception of being any form of a reality at all. Many people will poo-poo this by saying, oh, well, that's just creative imagination. But we would say to them, and from what dimension of consciousness did that reality manifest itself into your mind in order for you to create it? So multi-dimensional reality is something that you explore on your own. Whatever you choose to create, you shall create. And it's dependent upon predominantly the feeling state of energy that you're able to cultivate, which is what we are going to be taking you into experiencing very shortly now. The idea that you can generate, and again, we use the word very carefully, generate, that you're not really generating anything, you're accessing and pulling in, if you like, or opening up to a higher potential of yourself in order to create a greater experience of that potential in a realm of consciousness where you can say, I created this, I experienced this, And by that way, you experience an increase in your consciousness, so that you yourself may say, I am a creator being. I am able to do more than I thought. And this is what multidimensional reality is, to allow you to access greater potential aspects of your own creative process, while also enjoying and appreciating the multidimensional creative processes of other people as well. Wow, this is wonderful. Well, I gotta say, I love your questions, guys, because like I said, you're asking questions I might not have asked, so it's great. Like I said, I have conversations with them all the time, and if it wasn't for the blessing of being able to share this with you guys and have the opportunity to do this work with you, I wouldn't have an actual record to look back at and remember most of these conversations. And I got to tell you, when I have this to go back and look at, it's like very enlightening for me, to know that you got beings and we got consciousnesses that love us and adore us on a scale and with a magnitude that very few of us can comprehend and fully understand and appreciate. So having the honor of being able to teach this and share their knowledge and wisdom with you guys is a real gift for me, because I have a permanent record that I can look back and I literally watch these videos over 2, 3, 4, 5 times, because I need to integrate this information, these vibrations, into my biological architecture enough that I remember it. Because if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have it to remember. So the conversations are the same. We have conversations one-on-one, and I try to write down key points. Sometimes Norma will follow me around with a camera and start asking me questions. And technology has really done a lot for enabling us to tap into dimensions of experience and being that are just profound. But it's really amazing. It's really, really, when you start allowing yourself to go into the deeper now, to go into your beingness without the restrictions of individual things getting your attention, it enables you to go to a different awareness of self, and that in turn gives you the opportunity to fully articulate what your potential is while you're in what you call a limited body, which actually has potential to live far longer, far more beautifully and far more gracefully than what we've been trained to think it can. And they giggle at that, saying you're never going to lose your opportunity to be able to become a creator, but you will occasionally forget if you don't learn to remember. That's why people forget, not because they want to forget, because they haven't remembered something properly, or they're trying to expand their consciousness. If you, one of the things they were telling me about some cases of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. While some of these things may be caused biologically, they said some of these are also caused because that soul is bridging its consciousness out of this realm into an expanded awareness that they have no framework in their body and mind or past experience that allows them to incorporate it into an expression here. So they're literally and figuratively leaving this dimension and expanding their consciousness. And so when somebody says they've got, tells me, like somebody's telling me the other day that a friend of theirs has Parkinson, and my reaction to that thing was like, "That's wonderful." And they said, "What do you mean that's wonderful?" And I said, "Well, they're expanding their perception beyond our reality right now." No, they keep forgetting everything. That's what I mean. They don't need to remember this because they're moving on to something else. And it ended up being a really fun discussion, and then they got it afterwards. Because when again, they come in because their goal here is nonstop with me. They will come in anytime somebody puts themselves in front of me that needs to learn or grow, or is part of the process that is enabling them to learn and grow, because they learn and grow too, because they are affecting our creative process as we are affecting each other's creative process. And that realization makes this life really exciting. That with these beings, and we are these beings, that with each other we do the same thing. So yeah, that was a good thing. Yeah. Well, I think that's enough of multidimensional exploration right now, Alex. I would literally be a puddle of tears of joy right now if I allowed myself to completely feel the love and the joy and the bliss that these guys can download into you. It's just like it's like a river of love, literally. I mean, literally a river. I mean, it's literally my body will start to sweat, my eyes start to cry. And I've been there. There are times Norma will come out and I'm meditating, my face is covered in tears, my shirt's wet, and I've just been blissed out for 20 minutes while these beings just share the truth and their love and the light with me. And I can feel that incorporating into my DNA. And it's like, this work is really profoundly simple and elegantly beautiful at the same time. Yeah, I'm aware of that. You're just saying we're going to get to the meditation because I've got other things that are happening right after this too. It's one of the reasons they said we created time. If we didn't create a time, there would be no structure in place for us to effectively integrate and learn the information and acquire the experiences we needed to evolve ourselves. What are we doing here? Wow, 35 minutes. Okay. They're not telling me, by the way, they're not telling me who they are. They're just telling me they are. These guys, I don't know, I'm saying guys, but again, I don't feel either male or female, I just feel just love. But they're very clear on not trying to get pigeonholed into my conception or anybody else's conceptions of who they think they are. And I know that I think Abraham Hicks has a similar process. They're a collective, right? And collectives are what we truly are in nature. If you look at a hive of bees. But they're saying that the process today is not a complex one. And if you're able to take this process and employ it in your meditations, even to a 1 or 2 minute degree, you'll notice that there's a depth that will unfold, an awareness. And they're saying they want to caution you on one element, and that is when you are able to go deeper into now, which is really expanding your consciousness to incorporate a broader spectrum of creative potential into a finite space called your physical world, the process of manifestation becomes accelerated. The experience of what you call energy is enhanced significantly, and therefore your creative output and creative results can be significantly more immediate and profound. And we recommend that you start and continue with small things for a while yet. And they're stressing that. Make certain that they're saying stress to you as you start learning, like some of you are starting to play with money and feathers and starting to see those manifestations. Keep them relatively small right now. As when we get up into the 103, it's gonna get bigger in a way that you'll be able to manage. But it's like anything else. You don't give a child a razor sharp knife when you're just teaching them how to hold cutlery for the first time. You give them a blunt, dull knife that they can work with, that they're not going to hurt themselves with. And that's exactly what we're doing with you guys, so that you can incorporate this, and so you get evidence. Oh, that's what happens when I do that. That's what happens when I do that. No, nothing negative or destructive happens, and you get the opportunity then of being able to of gaining practical experience in a safe and healthy way, which is what our parents did for us. I didn't poke my eyes out with a knife or a fork when I was a kid because I had good parenting, at least with regards to knives and forks, and as it did all of us. And so these, JC, he says, this is the same process. We are to you relative to what the Father is to us, and you'll understand this more. So we will give you only those things that we know you are capable of properly managing, and we will watch you very carefully. But as we know, once we hand that, even if it's a pretend fork or a pretend knife to a child, but it's not the real thing, the child can still harm themselves. We still have to be careful. So there's always a risk involved in the learning process. If there was no risk involved, there would be no learning. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just. If I turn, see, I can get so I could literally just turn inside and just sit in this vibration of love with these beings. But that would be very selfish of me because they have to communicate what they're doing, and they've got other things to do as well. They said even though multidimensional conceptions of beingness allow us to be in many places simultaneously, the degree and intensity of a focus at any certain point of time and space varies according to the need of that particular aspect. Yeah. And again, they're saying we will always say to you that we are very careful about the meaning of individual words and how you may interpret them, so that you don't get a misunderstanding of what it is we're saying, because much of what you might understand about what we're saying is vastly different than the meaning it actually has from our perspective. And so they're saying from that note, this short meditation will be specifically designed in the most elegantly simple way. And so we ask you all to get very comfortable, and please make certain that you drink a bit of water first. You know, I just had a thought of gotta watch our thoughts, because our thoughts can affect us, our physiology. Almost made me laugh water up into my nose. That, you know, a few years ago, even 10 years ago, when, you know, before people started using Bluetooth and everything, I walk down the street now, people are talking away themselves and they're laughing and doing all these things. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, when we saw people talking to themselves, they were considered really crazy. And now it's the new norm to be talking and walking by yourself down the street. And I thought, well, isn't that kind of funny? Maybe those people that we thought were crazy were actually really communicating with somebody. And it's our perception of what we thought about them that alienated them and separated them and isolated them from experiencing what they need to. They're saying, no, that's not true. They're saying that's not true at all. They chose that. They chose to be isolated that way for the perceptions that they need to incorporate deliberately and intentionally into their systems. Okay, I stand corrected. As you can see, it's very exciting. So one of the reasons why we were guided to do this is because we know how exciting this is and what the implications that we can actually collectively get together and fix a planet, literally energetically fix an entire planet, an entire species, many species in fact, just by moving our vibrational index away from fear and towards love is pretty profound. This is one of the reasons I'm in this. Like, I'm in 150% into what we're doing together. Because I know that we can do this. Like, it's not a theory to me. It's a fact of my existence that we can affect time, space, and matter. And now the science is starting to back up everything I've been saying for the last 30 years, medically speaking, as well as energetically speaking. And now the magnetic fields and waves and quanta and the fact that everything's electrical in nature. So I'm too excited. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna dial it down. I'm gonna dial it down to hang, guys. This is how I'm like when I'm talking alone with him. This is how it is. I get really excited like this. And I'm literally like, I remind myself of my daughter. And she used to ask me why questions. When she hit between the ages of 2 and 5, she started asking me a lot of why questions. And I felt like the most knowledgeable person on the planet. I felt like I was God to this child in that respect, that I knew all the answers. She could ask me any question, and if I didn't know the answer, I could find the answer. And that's a pretty profound place to be in with somebody. So when I'm asking these guys questions, or you're asking these guys questions, it's really exciting. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you guys feel it too. So anyway, okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna just settle in here. I'm gonna let them step in and take over, and then just do this. So get yourselves comfortable, get some water, take a few slow, deep breaths, and settle yourselves in. We simply ask you to put your body at rest. Give it your complete, unrestricted permission to relax. It may help you to use those words towards your body. I give you complete and unrestricted access to relax completely and fully during these few minutes. You may or may not notice parts of your body that choose to stay a little more active. Gently ask them to relax and let go. Just be aware of what your ears are hearing. Be aware of the surface on which your body rests. Be aware of your breathing deeply. Notice your muscles relax more deeply when you exhale from that body. In fact, we encourage you to take a deep breath in and as you exhale, allow all the muscles to relax. And take 3 more breaths just like that. And allow your body to relax completely. Become aware of the thoughts and imagery in your mind at this time. And very gently ask your mind to relax. Tell your mind it is okay to relax and receive that which it needs from you. As you allow your mind to relax, feel the silence growing within you and feel the silence in the space around you. Allow any and all sounds to come and go, just like allowing your body and mind to relax. Anything which comes and goes will not disturb your awareness and focus on the direction in which you are going, which is deeper within. Imagine you can pull far away from everything that you can sense. Pull yourself far back from your senses so that you know they're there, but they do not disturb you. And all you're aware of is the growing and deepening silence. If you pay close attention, you can notice that the silence also goes outward. It fills the space between all things, and you can feel that silence between all things within you and around you. if you pay even closer attention to the silence, feel how it gets stronger. Even the silence feels like it has a weight to it. But it is not a physical weight, but it is a feeling of substance. And you are part of it. You are part of this connecting silence. Which is within you and between all things around you. To the best of your ability, allow your awareness to expand into all of the silence, as far outward as you can and as far inward as you can. Feel the vibration of your being silent. Feel the freedom in being connected to and also separate from all things that you are connected to. Take a moment to bring forth your feeling of gratitude at experiencing silence in this way. That gratitude affects you as it does the silence and everything connected to it. Notice that even though you can extend your awareness very far out into the silence and very deep inside into silence, you are still aware and present and conscious. Take a moment to be grateful that you are conscious. Feel the vibration of the silence in between the cells in your body. Feel the vibration of the silence between the molecules in your body. From this perspective, you can alter energy more effectively and without judgment. We ask that you choose a particular individual whom you would like to see living more joyfully. And transmit a feeling of joy to them from your silent space. And now transmit that feeling of joy into your own consciousness space. Where you feel you are localized at this time. Now, from this space, we ask you to consider one element you would like to change in your life as you understand it to be at this time, or one thing that you would like to experience at this time. And we ask you to feel the feeling of that experience now, as if it is already done, and feel how the silence responds. Be thankful for this response of the silence. Remember this feeling in your body at this time. Remember this feeling in the space around your body. Take a moment to speak these words to your entire awareness at this time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And feel how the vibration in your body responds. And feel how the space around your body responds. Expand your feelings of gratitude to fill the space in which your body currently is. Breathe deeply and draw your awareness back into the localized space of your body. And as you exhale, bring yourself back into this present moment. And very gently open your eyes. And know that the sensations and frequencies and vibrations that you are feeling in your body at this time and in the space around you were generated by the nature of the focus that you were directed to utilize. And your capacity to deliberately and intentionally choose a focus, a quality of consciousness, if you like, enables you to alter your immediate experience of time and space, which in turn alters your abilities in terms of how you would choose to deal with events and circumstances around you. And we ask that you remember this specifically for the knowledge that this vibration, clearly felt and understood, will reorganize matter around it, which is essential for the changing and maintenance of different electromagnetic patterns of energy. Okay, we won't go into that right now. Suffice to say that your experience of this and how you, we'll say, indulge in it, be in it, gives you much needed experience and knowledge of your capacities beyond the interpretations of who you've been trained to think you are. And we encourage you to do this short meditation as part of what you're already doing. If you are bold enough to step beyond what you think your limits are, you can accomplish. Thank you. Wow. Any feedback? Any questions? I'd be curious to know anything that comes up in the next few hours or 10 hours even. Be mindful to note things that stand out, experiences that stand out, encounters that stand out. Because when you start working with energy directly, you move into a place where you are deliberately creating. It's the place that Abraham speaks of, but it's the place that Jesus taught from. It's also the place that all the masters work from. It's what we, in our true nature, do work with. Yes, indeed, Kate. Wow. Well, that's it. Timing is impeccable. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. Elena, because it's stepping you outside of your individualized perception of what you call yourself. And all new experience is often a little discomforting to the old self. We would encourage you to go into a state of what you might call love, with the vibration that you currently are experiencing, to get into a state of gratitude and grace with this energy, so that you may articulate it more consciously as the experience you wish it to be. Because you can certainly put energy out into your realm and just let it become what it will become, but it's much more effective when you become the sculptor of your experience, the deliberate manufacturer of events. And with that knowledge, there comes greater responsibility. And some people, when they realize that, well, we actually do affect, tens of millions of people with our thoughts and emotions simultaneously, we have a greater level of responsibility that comes with that. If somebody told you that every bad thought you thought was actually causing a very problematic condition for somebody else somewhere, you'd be very, very much more careful about how you think. Well, you're welcome, everybody. I do have to go. I got things to tend to. Again, it's my honor and privilege to serve you. Much love to all of you, and have yourself a joy-filled day. Bye for now.